I don't see program.
Nope.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. We got another episode of Strange Happenings. I'm your host, Mikey, and of course, always riding shotgun, the bro host, Bub. Bub,
What's
how you
up?
doing?
Good. Great.
Good? You ready
Wonderful.
for this one?
Rested.
Rested?
Well rested.
Feeling good?
Feel great.
All right, great.
Like a new baby.
And as always, Stoner and Disbro are here in master control with us tonight. What's up, fellas? Making everything look and sound dope as usual. We've got a good show tonight.
Everything's dialed in.
Yeah.
I think Stoner got inspired at his little jaunt across country to go see a sweet show.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, I wish I would have went to that at some level.
Yeah, Stoner went to the last Dead and Company shows with his family this past weekend.
If you haven't seen the drone light shows from that, go check out the drone shows they were doing for that. It's incredible.
Synchronized drone. I don't know, what do you call it? Drone light show. It's synchronized drone light show up in the
basically
sky.
taking the pixels from your TV and taking those pixels out and putting the pixels in the sky.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah,
and as Stoner said, it's the future of light shows.
It's the future of concert light shows for sure.
I just want to go see a concert
events
at that venue.
Right.
Giants, the water.
The Giants Stadium.
Been up
right
there
on
a number
the bay.
of times. Yeah, I've been up there a number of times. I've never taken in any event there, though.
Yeah.
I did go to a Buckeye backer bar one time to watch a Buckeyes game and saw a gentleman use a disturbing amount of ketchup for a meal. I gotta tell the story.
Pull half of the basket filled with
I gotta tell
ketchup.
this story real quick.
Okay, great.
Real quick.
Great.
We were having mimosas. It was endless mimosas. I was travel nursing. My roommate and I went there, and this guy had a pulled pork sandwich with fries. I'll never forget it. He had a bottle of Heinz ketchup that I swear he used the whole bottle. He ate that meal.
The whole bottle.
He ate that meal for the entire game.
What do you mean?
It came out before the game started. And he ate that meal.
Just kind of nipped at it?
I have a lot of anxieties, and watching somebody take that long to eat food, it's up to you, I get it, but there was just a lot of things happening. And I knew I was right in the weirdness meter when at the end of the, entire thing happened, he licked the public ketchup bottle top, and I was like, I gotta go. I'm glad I just had a mimosa. You can't do that in public, man. You can't do that at home, but don't lick the condiment tops. Jesus.
No, that's
sorry.
Well, anyways,
Stoner had a much more enjoyable time seeing Dead and Go.
All right. Well, hey, already took a hard left turn. Let's get back on track here. Everybody in the chat, what's happening,
What's
you guys? It's good to see you guys. Flux Capacitor, Necro. We've got
Cess in the
City. What's happening?
Hey.
Born Not to Run. Anybody else? We got Eric up on top. Yeah, it's going to be a good show. We appreciate the heck out of all you guys. As always, we try to keep these live streams ad-free. We do have the Super Chat, Super Stickers now activated on the Strange Road YouTube page. It's definitely a mountain to climb to kind of get to that point.
We're still putting it together.
Yeah, so, we appreciate all your guys' support. Of course, you can always follow us at The Strange Road on YouTube. Right here, subscribe. And we're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. And follow, like, subscribe. Share the heck out of our stuff if you enjoy it. But I think we're ready to dive in.
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I think so.
All right, let's do it. I think I got the first one here.
Put together what we could this week.
Yeah, so we're kind of all over the map on this one, but of course we always have to kind of keep up with what's happening in the world of UFO UAP disclosure. In little bits, week by week, keep kind of getting added with these laws that are coming out. And so we're trying to add pepper in a little bit beyond all of that. So we have
a developing story. I mean, the ingredient list of what's going on in the conversation around UAPs, UFOs, disclosure, government hearings, Senate hearings, whatever, bills being passed. That hornet nest is stirred up a little bit. Nobody. Remember what we said when we were first covering it? And you were saying, I don't even remember what outlet we were getting it from. Newsmax, or what was the outlet where Grush had his interview?
That was the debrief.
The debrief did it?
I believe.
We'll have to check on that, but whoever did that first wasn't getting picked up by major outlets.
Right.
Wasn't on ABC, NBC, CBS. Wasn't on major news.
It's all over now.
It's everywhere now. Yeah, so I think we're seeing this where initially, if it was just hitting on some arbitrary third-party news network that, not a lot of people get their eyes on, story would go away rather quickly.
Yeah.
So seeing it get some legs, so to speak, and really starting to hold its weight and gaining momentum.
When News Nation landed the interview with him, that's when it kind of really started picking up. The Debrief did the first, they wrote the article. That's what we covered, 2 weeks ago. Was it 4 weeks ago now?
It's been a while.
Yeah, I think so. But when all that initially broke, the Debrief wrote it, and then slightly after that, like a week later, News Nation got the interview, which if you haven't checked that out, it's worth watching the entire interview. Of course, you have a million videos on YouTube of everyone covering that.
Right.
So to find the full interview, I believe we did post that in the description. But
Of the episode with Grush.
But yeah, like I said, trying to switch it up a little bit.
We try to cover it all.
An article from The Blaze. Charles Manson follower released after 53-year prison stint for role in famous murders. Leslie Van Houten.
53 years.
Yeah. So
And I can't imagine. Go on. I'll throw my thoughts in here as we go, but there's a lot there to unpack.
when you look into the Manson murders, you realize that a lot of the Manson family members went to jail and served prison time that didn't necessarily kill anybody, that were there as witnesses. They were robbing, whatever they were doing.
They were at the actual
writing pig
crime.
and pig and blood and all the things that the group was doing. Like Manson wasn't even there. People don't realize that.
He didn't even
He
go.
wasn't at any of the scenes. Now, he had probably killed a couple of people before that. One of them being this drug dealer who they're pretty sure that he definitely killed that guy, but that was like months before all this. So, I mean, not to say he wasn't a killer. He definitely did. But Leslie Van Houten, she was one that actually did kill the woman that we're going to get into, her specific case. So, yeah, she's been in prison for so long. Never did we think that any of these folks would get out. I mean, Charlie Manson died, and I think it was 2014.
What's that mean? We late, nothing showing.
What's that?
I don't know. Anyhow, I was wondering if maybe our feed wasn't going out.
It should be.
All right. Carry on. I'm sorry.
So, a follower of infamous killer Charles Manson, Leslie Van Houten, was released from California prison after spending more than 53 years. She's over 70 years old now. She's released on parole supervision. So, within the last, I think, like 3 or 4 years, she's been up for parole a whole bunch of times and has gotten denied. Governor Newsom and
denied
some
her
other
quite a few
folks.
times.
Yeah, they denied her.
Was it Newsom and Brown? Mm-hmm. But apparently he didn't put up a fight against this appeal this time.
No, he didn't. And she was convicted in 1971. She was basically 7 concurrent life sentences is what she was. So, eventually you're that age. I mean, the brainwashings of whatever Manson was doing to those girls.
Right.
Into the family period.
Right.
Like he had them under a spell. If you've ever seen any of those news footages of them walking in the hallway in court with the X's on their foreheads, and it's just all about Charlie.
You think
she's all about Charlie?
You think she'll do an interview at all?
Oh, yeah. I'd love to see who lands that interview because they're going to pay a decent amount of money for that, I'm sure.
I don't know. I don't know how I would adjust to the world now. Like, I don't know. You've been in there 50-some years, man. That's a long time to come out and be like, all right, I guess I'm going to start getting after it.
Yeah. Yeah. But she was part of the LaBianca murder. So everybody remembers like Sharon Tate, and it was, the basically convicted pedophile from Hollywood that's now on the run. Her boyfriend. I can't remember his name. Yeah, he's slipping my mind right now. But he's
Roman Polanski?
Yeah, Roman Polanski's house was one of the locations. The LaBianca murders, from what I understand, were either the night after the Tate murders or vice versa. But that's where she murdered basically the LaBiancas were like store owners, essentially.
Yeah.
Like nobody could really figure out what they had to do with anything. It's really bizarre how they came across these people, and for that they weren't really, they're supermarket executives,
right?
But she's the one that killed Rosemary LaBianca. So
it's too wild.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a story that's been around our entire lives.
5
and we've
times.
heard about. Yeah.
Up for parole 5 times between 2016 and 2023.
Jeez.
And and on
5
July
times.
7th, Newsom said, "Hey, we're not going to fight it." He expressed disappointment. I don't think they wanted it to happen, but they're reversing it. So there you go.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if she comes across any outlets or does an interview or doesn't appear.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But I also wonder, like, can she, like, this sounds so terrible, but like, say she makes a movie or a documentary, can she profit off of that?
Sure. Yeah, you can sell the rights to your story for sure.
You would think the families of the victims would go after that.
You know how many movies there's been with
Not of hers, though.
the Manson story? It's
Not of
insane.
hers, though.
No, not from her perspective.
That's what I'm saying. Not like,
Yeah.
that's where, again,
Because she was like a total normal, like all American girl.
Well, I mean, I was thinking
Before
of it too,
Manson
like
got
you
a hold
said,
of it.
like, being like trans or under a spell or something. Like, man, at this age, I can look at my life in like 5-year increments and be like, that was a totally different version of myself. That was a totally different version. It's almost like this continual evolution. And I will never forget this. I asked a patient one time when I was still a nurse, I said, at 20, I thought I was smart. Then I got to 25 and I thought, man, I was an idiot at 20. And I got to 30 and I thought I was an idiot at 25. And I was like, my question is when is this going to stop happening? Because I don't want to keep waking up feeling like a complete moron. And the guy was like, hopefully it never stops happening. He's like, because that means you're actually growing, you're learning, you have perspective, you're aware, yada, yada.
Do you think she's aware now of what all happened to her? Because I don't think they were ever allowed to give interviews.
You had 53 years to sit. I'm sure she's had some psych consults in prison.
Yeah.
I'll bet she had to do, I would hope so. I mean, I say that and then,
Deprogrammed. Because, hey, guess who taught Charlie Manson how to do that? More than likely the CIA.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty well, the evidence points
Who knows?
that
Who
there
knows
were certain factions of this, the MK Ultra program that were allowing this to happen, giving him acid, doing it all through, these medical clinics in the Haight-Ashbury district where they're watching all these people, and his parole officer was connected to the psychologists that were running the Haight-Ashbury medical, the little clinic down there. And so you have all these connections.
It's just a broad experiment.
And he got out 3 or 4 times. He got arrested.
And nothing happened.
They let him out right away.
Yeah.
Until finally the sheriffs went all the way out there. They were staying at that old ranch.
Well, and it'll be the same as everything else. Charlie's dead now, so maybe the real story will come out in another 20 years. Mm-hmm. Once everybody involved with it's dead, so they can't be held culpable. That's when we get the release of stuff. That's when you really find out things. Is like, oh my God, how did we not know this at the time when they were living? Like, well, they couldn't have got away with it, Mm-hmm. Like Jimmy Savile, like all these weird things that happened that year. Like, how did that happen for 50, 60 years?
Jimmy Savile.
Like, dude.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I hate to beat a dead horse there. But
yeah, if anybody wants a good read or an audiobook, Tom O'Neill, his book Chaos, that goes through the CIA connections in Manson. It's worth checking out for sure.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot to that story.
Tom O'Neill's he has a pretty good interview on Concrete podcast.
Oh, cool.
If you ever want to check that out. But yeah, moving on. There you go. Manson member out of prison.
On to stranger subjects, not of the serial killer world. Well, not serial killer. He was in a serial killer,
murdery
culty world. Yeah, but we turn to the archaeologist. And
by the way, I love the archaeologist.
Yeah, great content. We love pulling up some of these articles.
Shout
from time
out
to time.
Anybody involved in running this page.
Yeah,
kudos to you guys.
We appreciate it. This one is the mystery of Romania's living stones. They grow, reproduce, and breathe. From July 8th.
Photos.
All right, I know the photos are pretty awesome, right?
Look at that, how bulbousy and perfectly round that is.
They say they look like something from an alien planet on another, or from an alien plantation on another planet. But the living rocks of Romania, known as the Trovants, really are of this Earth. And they are naturally formed by geological processes. So they start out as pebbles. They grow at about 2 inches per millennium, which,
you just now
full
found
disclosure,
out.
I didn't know what a millennium meant. So I just thought it was decades and centuries, and that's it. Just measure it by that. And some other, archaic terms that don't really mean anything to me unless I'm like in geology or something. But so 2 inches per millennium. So 2 inches every 1,000 years. That's pretty slow growings. Trovent stones are unique mineral structures that mimic plant and mammal life. The bizarre bulbous stones almost appear to grow in the same way as plant tissue as they give birth to new stones, just like an animal. They use a lot of hyperbole here and allegory, but they're not necessarily a living entity.
In the way that the plant, the water comes and nourishes the plant grows, we drink water. This is all water related too.
It is, but
that's I think the connection.
It's a very allegorical way. But
what else?
Trovent stones are found in a small Romanian village called Costesi, about 50 miles west of the capital of Bucharest. And they really do look like blown bubbles from what the article even says. But different ages, they do not simply appear from the ground. They are present in the massive sands of different geological ages, which natural outcrops or in sand quarries. It's a synonym for a German word, which I cannot pronounce, which means cemented sand. Could you say it? Sandstein concretionen. Sandstein concretionen. Oh, so yeah, cement sand.
Yep.
Concretionen would be concrete, and then sandstein would be sand. The word Trovent was used for the first time in geological literature from Romania, said Dr. Ticlinu. That's an interesting name. You can go to the site. You can walk by a large variety of the spherical ellipsoidal Trovent stones, which grow slowly over time in the presence of rainwater. They are mainly composed of hard stone core surrounded by sand that forms the shell, right? So that's what we're talking about with the water going in and how they kind of say it mimics this biological breathing, right? The minerals in the rainwater form a reaction within that builds pressure inside, which makes the rock grow and multiply. Much like the rings that make up the girth of the trees, the Trovents reveal layers when cut into. So if you cut into these, they kind of look like a layer cake too, because of how they're packing on and building and quote unquote growing.
Rings in trees.
Yeah, I mean, in their own weird way, they really are growing. I mean, it's not contested. They do. It's kind of like the weird. What is it? The stones in Death Valley, how they slide across the desert. And people, how are these stones moving? Like stones do some weird things. And we're just starting to look into it more,
Yeah. There's a lot of different kinds too. If you keep scrolling down a little bit, Stone, there's this ones that look really, really ancient. I mean, you got to think how ancient these are. If it takes 2 inches per millennia,
some of these are pretty big.
So, do you think these were underground and then the topsoil's worn away, and then now they've been exposed, and these things have been just growing and growing?
Yeah, no, so they don't erode away. I think they grow, like they literally like collect around it, and then they make that ring, and whatever's going around it collects it in the rain. So it's been exposed. Off of it, they've been exposed.
Little spherical whatever noids grow off of the big ones.
Yeah.
Then it starts the process all over again with little ones.
It multiplies these out.
Then maybe those turn into the bigger one, and they just keep going.
I mean, it's
pretty strange.
It's wild. I would have thought if I looked at a picture like this, my initial thought, not being a geologist again, would be like, somehow...
We should talk to Tom about this.
Somehow this magma got up, and it was going through a really tight spot, and it like just bubbled out, and that would... Or like it's mixed with some kind of like sulfur to where it's like causing the bubble and it's cooling. I would have never have guessed the creation of that.
Yeah. Ask Tom. He's probably like, I got 2 of them in the back.
Trovents. Oh, you want a Trovent stone? Yeah. There's one up by the breccia. God, Tom. Love Tom. He knows so much.
And hey, just for a thought, the Carpathian area of Romania, Ghostbusters 2.
Oh, God.
Vigo the
Carpathian.
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus.
Yep. Under the city of Ooze, the river of Ooze.
Viggy, you've been a bad monkey. God, I love that movie.
Ghostbusters 2 might be just as good as the first one.
It's pretty
If
good.
not, maybe a little bit better.
It's pretty good. It is really good. I could take a trip and go check these stones out. And hopefully bacterial growing stone. That's right. They are odd.
Yeah.
Born not to run. That's what It's
And then
kind of like,
also,
don't we have something like that here though? But that's more erosion, right?
coral,
Out west.
Coral
I mean
is kind of a living creature that
the
creates
weird
stone.
little, wasn't there like some Boy Scout troop out west a couple years back? They were like knocking them over, and
Oh, jeez.
there should just be like, that's the only time we should need a drone that it just has like a whip. Like if you do something like that, it's just like, no.
The National Park Service.
Why would you do that?
Whip drone.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Put a little Indiana Jones hat on him.
Yeah, like leave that stuff alone. Just appreciate it.
Or like
Look
some
at it.
kid defacing petroglyphs, drone whip comes in.
Something.
Yeah.
Something.
I agree.
Something to teach people manners about preserving history.
Yeah.
Don't blow it up and turn it into an overpass for a freeway, for Christ's sake. Anyhow, that's my soapbox on the Trovan stones of Romania.
Well, this next
Shout out Romania and Bucharest.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to archaeologists again for that one. This one is from howandwise.com, and this is Vicky Verma. So we got ex-Apollo astronaut claims humans are ancient aliens visited from Earth's space. I mean,
bring it.
You talk about Pandora's box. Now you have, a lot of these guys we've talked about it many times. Some of the other Apollo guys that have talked about aliens, talked about craft over the years that have kind of, whether it's like a luncheon or a dinner where it's just some random event where they just kind of pop off about aliens.
You got to let some steam out every once in a while when you're concealing
when you
something
know
like that.
stuff. Yeah. So this one's cool because this gentleman in particular.
Wow. Hold on.
Yeah. Oh, hello.
Sweet Jesus.
Sess in the city. Thank you so very
Thank
much.
you.
We really, really appreciate that.
I was like, our screen broke. It turned orange.
The best way to get
Thank
there
you
is
so
the
much.
strange road. Oh, hell yeah. That's what's up.
We appreciate that.
Peace to you. Much love.
She just dropped a nice. Is that a super sticker? Is that what that's
That's
called?
a super chat.
Super chat.
Yeah.
Super chat. I'm trying to get
Bub's
the
getting
jargon
filled in.
down, the lingo. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
Awesome.
That rocks.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to derail your train.
No, that's worth
Blew my
derailing.
mind.
So, in the history of space programs, 7 Apollo command module pilots spent time in isolation in lunar orbit while the rest of the crew explored the moon. These astronauts were completely cut off from the Earth, and the nearest humans had ever been when they were on the far side of the moon. One of these astronauts was Apollo 15 command module pilot Al Warden, who flew to the moon in July 1971. He's remembered as the most isolated human being ever.
That's a pretty interesting title.
So basically, when he's orbiting around the dark side of the moon, he's the furthest human being
from any other
away
humans.
from Earth, people on the moon, whatever's going on.
That's a trippy thought.
Yeah, right.
That's a very
like he's
trippy
living
thought.
in a Pink Floyd album.
And I felt bad for Tom Hanks in Castaway.
Well, I felt bad for Wilson. That's the messed up thing. It's a volleyball with a bloody handprint.
I felt bad for Wilson.
I did, didn't you?
Yeah, of course.
floated
Overwhelming
away,
amount
right?
of empathy walks around in this biological grouping of cells.
So yeah, this Al Warden, he's claimed that we are not alone in the universe, and said there is no doubt that there are other living species out there. During his visit to FM Ray's Darcy show in 2014, he recalled being alone in space for 3 days during his 1971 mission, and gave him time to think about the bigger questions in life. You can click that source there and it'll give you that whole interview, it looks like. He said, you see the universe out there and all the stars, and you think you would do a little research on the stars. You realize how many there are out there. There are over 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy alone, and there are another 200 billion galaxies. You begin to think, all that out there, there's got to be somebody.
Sure.
And asked why he thought we haven't had any contact from potential extraterrestrials, he quipped, why would they want to? Oh, hey. They know enough about us not to want to. We're making balls of what we're doing down here. I read that and was like, am I misreading that? No, he actually says we're making balls of what we're doing down here. Later, he reconsidered his thoughts on alien life during his interview with the British TV show Good Morning Britain. He, without any hesitation, said that humans are ancient aliens who arrived on Earth in the distant past. When Warden said about the possibility that there were extraterrestrials out there, Warden says, "You know, I've been asked that question hundreds of times. Do you believe in aliens?" And I said, "Yeah."
Mm-hmm.
So in 2017 on a British TV show, he gave a shocking response when a host asked why you should spend a lot of money on space missions when there are lots of problems on Earth. He was asked if he believed aliens were real. The answer probably surprised everyone watching the interview. The former Apollo 15 member said that not only were aliens real, but they had come to Earth in the distant past and created our civilization. And if we wanted to look for evidence, all we have to do is look at what the ancient Sumerian text said.
Right.
So he's studied these texts from what they go on to talk about him, reading as much as he possibly can on the groups from Mesopotamia, which was Babylon, Assyria, all those civilizations all had their background based on the Anunnaki. So he kind of goes in deep here. And he said, according to his words, he was a firm believer in the ancient Sumerian scriptures. They reveal that humans and gods used to live together. While humans were servants to gods and each Sumerian city was guarded by its own god, the earliest record of the Sumerian creation myth can be found in a tablet excavated in Nippur, an ancient Sumerian city in Mesopotamia, which was found in 1893. According to the cuneiform tablets, Earth was ruled by a human, godlike, at the beginning, and then they arrived on Earth. They made it basically. They were mining. They were terraforming.
So this is Battlefield Earth,
habitable for their culture.
Battlefield Earth,
exactly.
But that is what that movie's based on too.
And this is Zachariah Sitchin's work, which
isn't Battlefield Earth kind of based on Sumerian and Zachariah Sitchin
for sure.
and all that? Mm-hmm. And that's the plot of Battlefield Earth.
Yeah.
Mining for, we were a slave species to another extraterrestrial species, mining goods for them so that they could take them off world.
Right.
But it also makes me think of this Greek, when I did that summer course on all the Greek mythology and, living with gods and the Greeks, to them, that was real in their time. I mean, was it real? Was it real at one point?
Yeah.
I mean, again, collectively, do we just have amnesia that we can't hold all this together for that long? Hell, man. I said, there's a great picture on Twitter the other day. It showed a horse-drawn carriage of the 1800s. And then it showed the 2000s and showed a stealth bomber. And you're like, wait, what? That was 200 years?
Yeah.
So over thousands and thousands or millennia.
If a comet doesn't hit the Earth, or there's some kind of flood, or you can get pretty advanced. It seems like we have been able to now. We have the proof.
Yeah.
And especially if we have UFO technology right now, which it seems like we do. But he goes on to say, it is said before humans, the Anunnaki, a group of deities from the ancient Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Assyrians, and Babylonians, used the Igigi, sometimes also spelled Igiju, which is the younger generation of the ancient astronaut gods. So these guys are the ones that are kind of second generation, if you will, from the original people that landed on Earth to reboot their civilization.
Yeah.
Essentially. And then, so supporting Al Warden's statement, Dr. Ellis Silver, an author of the book Humans Are Not From Earth, a scientific evaluation of the evidence, has a strong belief that life on the Earth was sparked by aliens thousands of years ago. According to him, humans should have become the strongest race in the universe, but the mortal body failed to thrive in Earth's environment. It can easily be harmed by sunlight, natural disasters, and disease, he said. Mankind is supposedly the most highly developed species on the planet, yet it's surprisingly unsuited and ill-equipped for Earth's environment. Harmed by sunlight, strong dislike for naturally occurring foods, ridiculously high rates of chronic disease, and more. Well, that's kind of a modern invention from just all the chemicals and processed foods, and I don't know.
I would say that's more of our own doing than nature.
I agree.
Yeah, I would say that's the high fructose corn syrup nurturing side of our
cheap
food production.
That's just cheap, what's available.
Everything in the store is made of corn in some fashion.
Mm-hmm. So we got a lot of it.
Why do you think they use that as the last crop in Interstellar?
Mm-hmm. It's super hardy too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it took thousands of years probably to develop corn of it was grass.
Yeah, I'll probably quote that movie for like the next 5 episodes we do because it's still rattling around in my brain.
Oh, yeah.
Such a good movie. That's a wild article.
But yeah, basically there were like these 3 levels that they talk about. And the Ijiju were the second level. The upper level was the world of the gods. And, we have an Apollo astronaut that's digging into Sumerian tablets, and seems like he's pretty well versed. And that's what, to wrap this up, there's just a lot of people that are coming out now and chatting. It's like free reign.
Yeah. Necro, I am so with you on the, he put a message in the chat, said, I'm ready for quantum cars, drive as the crow flies, and phase through any obstacle in the way while going super fast. If I could do that on the freeway, I would, but thank goodness I have a car that's zippy enough that I can do it even if I want to, still in a certain amount of ways. But yeah, it's one of those, we've talked about it before, about how, like the progress we've made and the progress we could have made.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for, in my opinion, and this could be entirely wrong, but the way I think about it is like, if you make money off oil or if you make money off of whatever it is, you're not going to give that up for the next best thing if it's solar, if it's electric, or if it's quantum this, or if it's gravitic drive that. Mm-hmm. You're making money on it.
Oh, yeah.
That's why you are in business, to make money. So you as the business making money off oil or coal or whatever it is.
Once it's built, they don't have fuel that they need. That's thing.
What I'm saying. That's why they don't want it.
That's the passive residual part of the business where you're constantly making money when you're sleeping.
That's why you don't want these new technologies, though, is they displace your ability to make capital.
Installed, you don't have anything else you really need except to keep it maintained. Look at
Edison and Tesla. They fought back and forth on direct current and alternating current because Edison didn't want to give up. Thought he was just as smart.
Edison electrocuted an elephant in front of a whole bunch of people.
To put it on display of alternating current. What a dickhead.
And murdered an elephant.
What a dickhead.
That, from what I understand, even back then.
That's grotesque.
Kind of really hurt his reputation massively. That's
just gross, man. Do you know how long that would have to take and how many volts?
It took forever. And people were just standing there going like, when is this elephant going to die? Like, just end it.
That's... Jesus Christ.
There's newspapers, there's photos of it, them having this thing hooked all up. It's dark.
Man. Is he... Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
We already covered that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to hop on the YouTube? You want to serve this video up?
Yeah, so... Yeah. Yeah, didn't we just say that?
Yeah, we did.
Sorry, we're getting the voice of Stoner in our head here. We're having some conversations. We did mention it, Kyle. The next thing that I came across, and I'll just be full disclosure here, this Strange Happenings was propagated by a lot of my ADD and scoping the internet.
Focused ADD.
Yes, but I found a video that blew my mind. Like, I was like, you never think about it, but like, okay, if the rocket's about to go off and there is an issue and mission control says, hey, get out of there, what can an astronaut do? Well, this video from, I don't even know, is this the 70s or 60s? It's old, from the BBC, shows us how an astronaut crew can exit a rocket prior to launch.
Yeah, this is cool.
The last thing anybody wants now is an emergency. But like everything else, they're ready for that too.
Watch this.
Once the crew are on board, if it looks as if they're in danger, they get out and head down this tube, specially insulated against fire, and zigzagging down not to some point out and away from the rocket, but to an escape room exactly where you'd think it shouldn't be.
Right. I'm just wondering, what would the explosive displacement be of that rocket? All that fuel.
They're going underground, right?
No, I know. Yeah, they go underground.
In a cement wall.
The crew could be down here in the blast escape room via that 200-foot escape tube. 40 feet below the base of the rocket.
40 feet below the
surface.
They
find themselves in a totally rubber room, walls and floors.
All that compression would be pushed
back
out.
They head for safety through a 6-inch steel door. Once they're behind that door, it doesn't matter what comes down this tube behind them.
Yeah. It's like entering into the vault at Gringotts. Jeez.
Damn.
Check out these seats they have.
That's
these
wild.
like big shock absorbing blast seats.
On this side of that door, the rarely seen blast escape room itself. It's totally isolated from everything around it by a series of 24 giant springs underneath the floor and shells all around it of steel, concrete, and sand.
So then
It
if
contains
it hits it,
enough
it just
food,
can just
And it's a dome,
water,
so if it gets
and
hit
air
by the
for
vibration,
20
Yeah.
people for up to
sends it
24
through,
hours.
absorbs through the sand and
And-
metal and this
in the springs.
and the spring will give you the.
It's all around the edge. There are these foam rubber shock-absorbing seats, as
Put
you
it
can
this
see.
way: this guy's strapping into this
The
seat
room
like
is
he's
built to
blasting off on the
withstand
rocket.
the
Yeah.
simultaneous
That's how intense it
explosion of
would
every
be.
drop
Right.
of fuel on a Saturn V. And in that event,
Dude, that's a
strapped
big
into
bomb.
your shock-absorbing seat, if your rocket did blow itself to bits 40 feet above your head, all you'd feel would be a mild rumble from somewhere up
Like
there.
riding on the Raptor at Kings Island or Cedar Point.
Can you
You
imagine?
know, the
that?
Raptor's a pretty rough ride, dude. You get some whiplash on that thing. You suspend down, you're strapped in pretty tight, but when you're going around those loops, dude, your head goes like,
Oh yeah,
that's kind
that's
of
what I'm saying. Yeah, that's why the appointments on those seats come up so high, is because you don't want to like be shaking and your astronaut co-pilot next to you and you slap him in the face or something,
Right,
you know,
right.
like because your arm's wilding out. But no, so I see this video and like the linchpin of the grenade that was pulled in my head was like just there's just too many. I was like, so now I'm like, I you know, there's always the did we go to the moon? You know, there's a lot of contention.
Does this
People,
make
yes,
you-
we absolutely went
does
there. We
this
got
make
video
you think
of it.
that they just, when they blew the rocket off, they all slid down this slide and were safely underneath there, and we didn't go to the moon?
I don't think we went to the moon at all. Me personally,
Yeah, I mean,
I don't. And if we did,
I love the story.
If we did,
the story's a good story.
if we did,
The Stanley Kubrick,
if we did,
yeah.
I'll say it this way: if we did, the technology we should be using by now, and if we're not, then
they
I
said
get
we
it. If
just
you're
kinda
using the
stopped.
same tech from the time that we supposedly went to the moon,
Computers the size of
and
this
we have the
room.
same technology, you should still be able to do it. But if we have decades better technology, you should be able to do it even easier.
But they didn't transfer that technology through the years. They just stopped. You know what I mean? Like it went from computers and people, like honestly, human beings were calculating most of the trigonometry and all the mathematics to get there. But the computers and the technology they were using were the size of Brozone,
yeah. Well,
if not bigger.
if we got there once, we should be able to get there again.
There's a gap, is what I'm saying, in technology as you
Put them up there with better cameras so they can do a live stream from the moon.
Yeah.
Come on, I mean, what?
Well, supposedly we're going back to the moon.
Yeah, I'll believe that. I don't think it's
Now they
happening.
actually 80 years later, or 70 years later,
We're
have
going
the
to get an
technology.
Uber ride from the UAPs we've been downing. That's how we're going to get to the moon. We're going to get an Uber ride. Sorry, that's but yeah, all kinds of stuff. But also just in the event of like astronauts having an escape. I just didn't know that was even a possibility.
Yeah, I've never heard about that.
Would
That's
that have
really
been a
cool to
thought where you're
see
like,
that.
oh, I'm sure they have a big giant slide that shoots them down into this underground bunker in there. No, I just figured it was like, hey, man, if you're bold enough to
there
strap
is.
yourself to a giant rocket, you're bold enough to deal with the consequences, much like bungee jumping or skydiving. Like,
And, you know, they would have a pretty good read on if that thing's going to blow. You would have some time to get down in that escape hatch. What if it blows, though, while you're in the slide before you get down there? Then you're pretty much toast, right? It's running alongside of it.
I don't know. That would not be much fun.
But good find, Bub. ADD check.
Necro said there would be a Starbucks on the moon if we could get there. That's probably true.
Hey,
That there
I don't
alone shows
disagree
you
with
we've
that
not been
logic.
to the moon.
Yeah,
If there's
I don't
not a Starbucks there, we're not there. Hello.
right.
Starbucks, that's too funny.
You want to move on to the bees?
Yeah, I do.
Bees are awesome, dude. Let me just say that. We covered bats, pollinators, few episodes, like maybe a few months back.
Yeah.
But those being great pollinators, but
Yeah.
bees.
And it's something that I think a lot of people are aware of. Like, don't get me wrong. Did I throw this article in thinking that nobody knew the importance of bees as a species? No, but It's kind of a good thing to reiterate from time to time and really just put on people's awareness that don't know about certain species and their value that they play, like what a keystone species is, what an indicator species is, and I don't know a lot about biology. I've just picked up things from naturalists.
Well, I didn't realize bats were insane pollinators and how important bats were.
Oh, I'm sure.
I knew they ate insects and stuff, but in terms of like
fruit.
Pollination.
Yeah, fruit.
Yeah.
Landing on things.
And those plants that specifically developed with bats in mind, only their bodies could fit through like this tube that the plant created. And only that bat could get in there.
Well, that's what we were talking about with Justin and Jay, I think, or when we were talking about the mushrooms and how mushrooms didn't evolve alongside humans. So mushrooms didn't make all these benefits or negatives or they didn't do anything for us. Mm-hmm. It was all about them, basically.
Right.
These plants that you're talking about with the bats, they actually developed along with them and evolved along with certain species. And they do that. It happens with a lot of different things, especially like hummingbirds and different, like you're saying, pollinators. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and I actually found out some things in this article that I didn't know. So yeah, we know the bee is the most important living being on the planet. I try
not to run them over with my lawnmower. It sucks. I seriously get out in front of the mower and shoo them. Because I got clovers in my yard, dude. I'm not going to lie. My shit ain't pristine. But you let it go a little, like a gig to St. Louis, you come back, those clovers are there, and you got bees in the yard. So
that's funny.
You got to like shoo them away.
That's so funny.
I just think a bee movie.
Oh my gosh.
So Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
This is from July 11th, and it's from Blog Science Nature, which I go on all the time, blog.sciencenatures. The Earthwatch Institute concluded in the last debate of the Royal Geographical Society of London that bees are the most important living being on the planet. However, scientists have also made an announcement. Bees have already entered into extinction risk. So, not good, but, let's keep them around, right? So, around the world, bees have disappeared to up to 90%, according to recent studies. Jeez. Reasons are different depending on the region, but among the main reasons are massive deforestation, lack of safe spaces for nests,
lawnmowers,
lack of flowers, use of uncontrolled pesticides, changes in soil, etc. Why have bees been declared as the most valuable living being on our planet, though? Right. So how do you get that designation? The Apiculture Entrepreneurship Center of the University of Mayor and the Apiculture Corporation of Chile, with the support of the Foundation of the Agrarian Innovation, conducted a study where it determined that bees are the only living being that is not a carrier of any type of pathogen. So whether it is a fungus, a virus, or a bacteria, bees don't carry that.
That's
any
wild.
of that. That's the thing that blew my mind.
And they never knew this before?
I never knew. I would hope that they knew that. Maybe it's just not widely disseminated information, but, like mosquitoes, why we hate mosquitoes, right? One, they suck to get bit by, but they carry pathogens. Mm-hmm. They can give you things.
Right.
Bees can't give you anything but a sting.
Right. Yeah, you get bit by something, you're going to get rabies. If it's a mammal.
Right. Yeah. Or anaphylactic reaction if you're allergic to it. But mostly what bees do is a very important process of repopulating all the food by pollinating, right?
God, it's so important.
Making honey, which never expires. Honey is like the only substance on the planet that doesn't go bad.
And GMOs don't necessarily need pollinators either.
That's a whole nother. We'll have to carve out a conversation about how wild the conspiracy is of why maybe.
Well, Monsanto's owned by Bayer now.
Well, and the other thing,
one of the largest pharmaceutical companies in the world just bought Monsanto.
Well, the other thing they do with bees is they will ship bees across country on flatbeds. To say go to an almond farm in California
100%.
To pollinate them.
Yeah, like
and you might have a mass die-off on the way because you're transporting the animal or not animals,
hopefully
insects.
Some escape.
Yeah, the agriculture of the world depends on 70% of these insects. So that's pretty big. We need them. Mm-hmm. They do a lot. Pollination that makes bees allows the plants to reproduce. We know that. Feeds a lot of animals though too, not just us. So the food we depend on depends on the bees too. So we really need them all around, right?
Well, remember when Adam Russell, we were talking with him about just that overall environmental of the land. Yeah. The birds, the bees, the goats or whatever animals you have, their dung and All of a sudden birds start coming back to the land. The bees come back, the pollinators, and that's
you
when
need
you
that
know
entire ecosystem.
you have a healthy ecosystem.
Right.
When you're devoid of even one part,
Yeah, absolutely.
we have a dead earth.
Well, it has to be a balance, and that's why there's always this, middle ground that has to be taken. But the Federal Institute of Technology of Switzerland proposes a theory that blames the waves produced thanks to mobile telephony. So our mobile phones emit these waves during calls that are capable of disorienting bees and causing them to lose their sense of direction, and therefore their life is put in danger because they don't know where they're going. And it's interesting because, it's one of those things that we walk around and we're bombarded by waves all
Robert
day.
F. Kennedy Jr. talks about is Wi-Fi and cellular waves affecting bees and birds.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, he doesn't seem so cuckoo.
No.
Yeah, people love to say that. It's like, no, these are just environmental issues. That's what that guy did.
I mean,
he's an environmental lawyer.
Right now, we walk around. When you walk outside and get hit by the sun, you're getting hit by waves and radiation, and there's all kinds of, there could be radio signals bouncing around you all day long that you never see.
Yeah.
But we might not be in tune to those as much as, say, birds are. Because they have some kind of like magnetic, right?
Oh,
like
for
compass,
sure.
directional. I don't know if it's all birds or some birds, but I want to say they can tie into like the magnetism of the earth is how they know where they're going. Like we might have that, and it's just something that we don't tap into anymore as a species, or it's, kind of like been evolved out of us because we don't use it or we're not in tune with it. But
pineal gland's all calcified, Bob.
no, I listen to my Bose chakra music.
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Cess in the City said she's got a pollinator garden. That's sweet.
What?
My old place, before we moved, I kind of
awesome.
had built a little pollinator garden and just pots and my plants on the back. And, dude, we would have bees, hummingbirds back there.
Always hummingbirds every summer.
Yeah.
Every summer. The only bees I don't like are the carpenter bees.
Yeah,
They drill in. But the bees are the jam. We need them. Let's keep eating honey.
yeah.
Try not to kill them.
Who doesn't like
If you
honey?
find them, if you get an infestation of bees, don't just exterminate them.
there
Call
are-
somebody. Call a local beekeeper. They'll come and remove them. I know it.
Yep. There's a lot of
They
people
want
that
that
do
queen. They'll be making honey. Maybe they'll cut you in on it.
Yeah. If
know?
you discover something in your shed, there are people that you can get in contact with.
They will come take them.
Yeah, and bring them out to their farm and make honey with it.
There's another important point by
Save the
Necro.
bees, man.
He said about the Wi-Fi and the telephone signals. Unplug your Wi-Fi at night and don't sleep by your phone.
Yes, I've been doing that actually.
In the Faraday
Recently.
cage. Dude, do you know how bad I wanted a Faraday bag for my phone? Mm-hmm. Maybe that's from, I think it was Enemy of the State with Will Smith and
That's an old movie too. That came out in like 2000, dude.
Dennis Hopper.
It's a wild movie. If you watch that
First time I
now,
ever saw a Faraday cage. Mm-hmm. And ever heard of a Faraday cage.
that was so long ago. That
then
movie
I-
was way ahead of its time. Somebody was on the inside making that movie, dude.
I've looked for Faraday cages, like he's saying, for like my phone. Just
Yeah.
for sometimes like keep the... Or even like having it in my pocket. I'm like, what if I develop like a bone tumor later on in my life in my like left femur because I've just had this little like
Stupid phone in your
microwave
pocket.
emitting, radio
Yeah.
frequency emitting, whatever is going on in my pocket.
Now again, though, some charlatans have made money off of
You got to be careful.
the 4G
Well, yeah.
scare, the Wi-Fi. So you got to really be careful. There's a bunch of charlatans that we've come across
Yeah.
in the past that are selling USB sticks that
Right, but there was a guy
put a
that
bubble around you to protect you from all the Wi-Fi.
there was a guy that sold pet rocks back in the
And
day.
we looked into it, and,
Like
and
in the
you could get them
70s.
from North Korea or South Korea is where these things were made.
There was a guy
bro,
on
come on.
There was a guy on eBay selling $70 solar dryers for laundry, right? And when you bought this, you know what you got? A piece of cord that you'd go and tie out from one end of your tree to the other end of your tree. You got
A clothesline.
So it's all about the wording, right? You can make water sound dangerous if you do it right. Like, so it's all like that's on the consumer end. If there's a consumer reports about, which 5G protective
Yeah.
thumbstick drive there is, I don't know. Go read the consumer reports. But yeah. Anyhow, that's my 2 cents on the bee. Thank you guys for listening.
Save the bees, man.
The bee's knees, brother.
This next one I can grab. This is another. The debrief has not slowly but quickly becoming.
I'll tell you
one
what,
of
I
our
don't
favorite
think they don't ever stop at the debrief. The debrief is a
debrief
24/7
is
happening.
briefing you.
Yeah.
and briefing us and giving us, a lot to talk about last. So,
They should be
hats
called
off
like
to
the
the debrief.
extended debrief.
Well, they're on it, whatever they're doing.
I'm not mad about it.
But you got to have editors and folks that are interested in getting this stuff out there,
Right.
that are motivated.
Right.
If you're not motivated to, spur on this truth, and hey, it's great headlines too. You're gonna make money. There's ads on this page.
Right.
Write about stuff that people care about,
Right.
and you can make money too, and you can tell the truth.
Right. Oh,
You can actually tell the truth and not just try to write a bunch of propaganda bullshit.
Yeah.
That confuses everybody.
Well, between this and the Twitter user that I follow, Klaus at Tiny Klaus, Klaus. That guy is always on it, but he does a lot of his own publications too now, and I'm starting to read that stuff because, like, journalism is not reserved just for mainstream.
Yep.
You can go be a journalist and maybe. It's kind of like the same theory of like, the best at this sport. Well, maybe there was somebody that was better that just never even played the sport because they just didn't even care, right? Like, so there are still people out there that do a very good job that you can find some very good information. So, yeah, I agree with you. Go out there and support some of those independent, hardworking men and women.
Yep. All their social channels are at the top. Go check them out. This article is titled "The Empire Strikes Back. Would-be UAP whistleblowers offered dire warning from U.S. Security Clearance Organization." So this organization is Clearance Jobs, and let's just shout out Christopher Plain. Thank you for writing this article, Christopher. Clearance Jobs, an organization that defines itself as the largest career network for professionals with federal government security clearance, has issued an apparent letter of guidance that also serves as a chilling warning to any industry or government insiders who are considering coming forward as UAP whistleblowers. And it begins with evidence of their work with non-human craft and their pilots.
Oh, gosh.
So now the fear-mongering begins.
Yep.
Now you're seeing the other side play their cards, the folks that are, and what is this Clearance Jobs? Like, what a great title. Right off the rip, I'm just like, that's a confusing title for any organization.
Yeah.
So, are they the people? They're the folks that are probably have a business that is around classified clearance.
Lockheed.
They
Raytheon.
are the ones that make the badges and go through the background checks probably to get people.
Yeah, I don't know if they're like an entity that helps.
Who
kind
knows
of like
what they do?
That
This is
arena
very
of having classified clearance and.
But they might be the ones that are kind of the bureaucracy behind all of that. There's
I don't think they play their hand that strong. I think they're just I think they're the mouthpiece of whoever's.
No, I
behind
think
that.
they're around. That business is basically they're offering a service for organizations that have clearance,
yes.
and they're providing
That
some
is
sort of
absolutely.
And if these clearances become declassified, and all this becomes public, they
don't have a job.
They're out of a job.
Oh, there goes the oil man losing his oil if we get electric, or if we get we go.
Yeah, it's the same story.
Right.
And
right. So don't go blow the whistle because then we won't need clearance.
Right.
If everybody knows everything, that'll never happen though. We'll always have security clearance.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. To me, from just what I've read in this article, is what does this company do?
I wasn't focused so much on them. I was just focused on
it was just a thought I had.
The message they had. But I'm with you.
But reading through the article, the thought was like, who is Clearance Jobs? What is this company?
It's the most germane, like tomatoes soup can name you've ever heard.
Never heard of them.
Did you ever see the movie Spies Like Us?
Yeah, of course.
And when they go to the
Chevy Chase and Dan
Mission
Aykroyd?
Control Center, it's like some soup factory.
Yeah.
And then they get on an elevator and they shoot down 400 floors into the desert or something.
Yeah.
But it's this very Clearance Jobs. Something that doesn't make any sense.
They end up hijacking a nuke or something.
Yeah, it's Will Smith walking into a building that's unmarked with just one security guard that brings him down into the MIB headquarters, that kind of thing. You're not going to advertise,
right? So this letter is titled "How to Blow the Whistle If You Work with Flying Saucers and Their Alien Pilots." Was issued to all subscribers via email on July 13th and is paired with well-worn buzzwords seemingly meant to belittle the topic before laying down the dire consequences that likely await anyone who breaks their security oaths to talk about their classified work. after outlining the claims involving the U.S. government's alleged possession of non-human craft made by former intelligence officer David Grush, which first appeared in the story by Leslie King and Ralph Blumenthal, and the debrief. Basically, the first thing titled part of this paper is whistleblowing something good, which opens more loaded paraphrasing and language, including the second use of the term space aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Which they're kind of like downplaying it. You know what I mean? They're kind of making a joke out of it.
They're trying to make you feel like an idiot for even thinking about doing it.
Yeah.
That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to sow this whole like uncertainty and like, do you want to be ridiculed? Do you want to get turned out in front of everybody? Like,
right.
It's getting a little heated, man.
Right. Now, and in this tone, if you can kind of think of it as this maybe smug tone as he's giving this speech, if it were all true, it would be the most extraordinary event in millennia with seismic implications for science, philosophy, religion, sociology and psychology, technology, everything, writes author David W. Brown, who is described as a would-be unifying force unlike anything described as a regular contributor for clearance jobs. Nothing would ever be the same again.
Right.
It would be a unifying force unlike anything since Constantine legalized Christianity in the Roman Empire. You would have religions that would pop up. You already have cults, UFO cults. Brown then goes on to note that he cannot think of a single drawback to the government, revealing, quote, the existence of space aliens, feudalistic dominance not withstanding, before commenting that if Grush is sane, this would mean that he has done a good thing by blowing the whistle.
Right.
Hiding flying saucers isn't government wrongdoing exactly, or fraud, or waste, or abuse, Brown adds, with one metaphorical eyebrow raised. At most, it's just a little weird. Blowing the whistle on aliens, in other words, is a complete and total positive for all involved. Interestingly, this sentence seems in direct contrast to the claims by Grush that the efforts to conceal and reverse engineering these crafts have been kept from the U.S. congressional oversight, which is a clear violation of a number of laws designed specifically to prevent rogue elements of the government.
Right.
And so, scrolling down a little bit, it's a headline in this speech or article that this gentleman wrote. It's "Leave the Lizard People Out." In the next section, if lizard people are not involved, Brown lays out a theoretical scenario that could be faced by a potential whistleblower. Let's leave the aliens out of it for the moment, he writes. Suppose you are a scientist for the Department of Energy helping to develop some revolutionary carbon capture technology. It uses minimal energy, works in seconds, and turns carbon dioxide and uses carbon dioxide captured from the atmosphere into a stable, harmless solid. You document your concerns and go through the chain trying to desperately to get someone to listen, but no one does. The classification remains, Brown laments. So you leak it to the Journal of Nature, though you're careful to protect the parts that can be reverse engineered by the bad guys. The revelation causes an uproar for obvious reasons. Brown then goes on to point out that the legal Pandora's box his seemingly good-intentioned Paul Revere has opened, specifically the legal consequences for them personally. And quotes, "Legally, you are on the hook for this," he writes, "even if you just save the planet Earth." Brown presents a series of possible consequences that the suddenly doomed hero may incur, including being charged for violating an Espionage Act and for leaking classified information that could benefit a foreign nation, to be sued by the government, losing your security clearance, losing your job, and being barred from other government contract jobs. So he kind of builds it up at first. It's like, hey, this is a great thing. And then hits you like, yo, y'all better beware.
Basically what they say is, even if you do
whistleblower act is enacted, you're protected, but there's this underbelly of shady world
there's
that
a way to still
exists
get you. It's Julian
outside
Assange.
of the government.
It's Julian Assange. Julian Assange is in jail
Political
for
prisoner.
blowing the whistle.
Well, he didn't blow. He provided a platform for whistleblowers.
He blew the whistle. He gave up information that wasn't him doing anything, but they can categorize it as you compromise national security, you're a terrorist or whatever. Yeah. That's what they're talking about. It's not so much Like, even if you do something that would benefit all of humanity, it's kind of like, you remember the whole like situation in Russia that time when the guy that was supposed to launch the missiles?
Yeah.
Right? In like 81. He was sitting at the control station. He got all this information that all these nukes had been launched from the U.S. And his response should have been, I should send off these nukes. Yeah. And he didn't.
Yeah.
And he got it again. He should have sent them off. And it basically would have ended the world as we know it. And he didn't. Yeah. And the reason he didn't was because it didn't make sense to him and all this. And he did come to find out later that he was correct. And the satellite was going through like some radiation or whatever it was, an asteroid field, and the signal was wrong and it was giving him wrong information.
Yep.
The point is, he still went to jail.
Right.
You were right. You didn't blow up the world, but you disobeyed an order.
Yeah, that's messed up. Hey, by the way, thanks for saving the world, bud.
That's the silver
lining.
You got to
do 7-8 years.
That's
Hopefully
what they're saying.
Didn't do a lot
that's
of time.
What they're saying with this whistleblower language is, even if you come out and say, hey, I found out that, we actually have this revolutionary free energy, right? Nobody will ever need to pay for energy again. We, as a species, will be energy independent forever. Well, that guy's going to get executed off to Gitmo. Why? Well, because a terrorist could potentially get it and it could fall in the wrong hands and they could turn it into a bomb. It's kind of the same way of saying, like, it's kind of like you can demonize anything. Like, say, oh, sugar's good in, making pies or something. Well, too much sugar and it's going to cause this and it's going to rot your teeth and whatever. And it's like, so how do you ever blow the whistle on something that's going to benefit everybody? They can always just categorize it in some fashion. Like, well, that could benefit terrorists or a foreign adversary. So now you're in trouble.
That's a good point there.
That makes me really irritated.
You just brought up a really good point. And let me just say, something that I've thought about for a long time is this kind of technology, these things that are bubbling up, dude. It's like a dam's getting ready to break.
Yes.
That's what it feels like to me. And when this technology, if it is what everybody says it is, and it takes, 20 years for maybe all of this to actually start coming out, unwilling some major cabal comes in and shuts it all down.
Right.
And shuts it all down.
Right.
But I think we're getting ready to see legit. We've already had disclosure. This is going to be huge if it is what they say that is going to happen, where more and more people are coming out. More and more people are going to continue to come out. Not only that, but they're going to disclose all of the items. One of the things I was reading, The Hill had an article. We didn't get a chance to put it in. I'm going to put it in the links.
Yeah, there's a lot. We've already got the next strange happenings in the works from all of what's going on.
Chuck Schumer, part of these National Defense Authorization Acts.
Yeah.
One of the big updates that I've seen is essentially now they've added not just exotic material from crafts, but non-human extraterrestrial biological entities. These words, so they're saying if you have bodies now, this is something that they're interested in. You have to disclose all this stuff. If you don't, you'll get amnesty like we talked about.
Well, they're giving them the opportunity to
ships,
come
not
clean.
Not just the technology.
No, we want
the bodies.
We want everything.
We know you got the body.
Does it ever make you wonder about that? You remember the alien autopsy video from back in the day that was huge? And I don't remember who introduced that. Was it somebody from Star Trek? Did that
Leonard
video?
Nimoy?
No.
Leonard
The second
Nimoy
generation, the next generation, the guy with the beard, Picard's right-hand man. I don't know his name. I wasn't that big of a fan. In retrospect, it was pretty dope. Necro! Get out of town.
Necro, thank you, dude.
Thank you.
Much love. That's a super sticker, bud.
That's a super sticker. Okay. It's a super sticker.
Much love, Necro.
Super chat.
Hell
Thank you so much, Necro.
You're the man.
Dropping dimes on us. Him and Cess in the City, thank you so much for your support tonight and listening to us. And
Absolutely.
He actually had a quote up earlier that I wanted to make mention of. I forgot about. I don't know if we can even scroll back through that. What was the video you mentioned earlier, Necro, and asked if we had played it? God, I can't think of it. Yeah, I don't think you saw it in the chat. And Stoner's dad said, y'all are blowing my mind today. He goes, I think I just ran over a couple of bees in the front yard.
Got to keep an eye out for them bees, Papa Stoner.
Got to watch out. Keep them healthy. Don Pettit. Yeah, I don't know what that... I'll have to look back through the chat. If we find that video, maybe we'll pull it up in the next one. But it was something about... that's what it was. Saying that we destroyed the technology that got us to the moon and we can't get back there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is.
That.
Okay.
So much stuff
Don
surrounding
Pettit.
one of the biggest moments of human history and especially American history. We documented and preserved and kept records of less well than somebody watches their FanDuel bets.
Yeah. Or you watch BBBY stock tickers.
Right. Right.
Hey, let me finish my
Like a
thought.
hawk.
I went on a major rant, but
Go
before
for
we
it.
end the show, I have to finish my thought on this because
Go for it.
it's something I think about a lot. So you have this technology, right? It's all coming out.
Uh-huh.
Do you think that if this technology is released, can you really have nations? Can you really have nations like we have now? Would it dissolve borders? Because think about it. The technology is going to get out.
I don't know
if it's going to be released on a worldwide scale.
I don't know that
if
the
you
tech
don't have.
would.
But here's the thing.
I don't think the tech would.
Here's the thing.
I don't think the tech would. I think what would do what you're
Eventually-
talking about would be if there is an alien species,
But-
and then they could go, hey, your religions that you have, which I'm not trying to dog on anybody's religion, but if
Yeah.
there's a species that comes and they go, hey, look, we know all about you, we
Most
dropped you off
Christians
here or
are
whatever,
very
like
open
we've
that
studied.
aliens are real.
I'm just saying if they could explain and go, it's not a bad thing that you've had it, but it's not. Yeah, that would dissolve it. Then we'd be one world in my mind overnight because now we're like, hey, we're all on this planet. We're not the same as them, but we are the same as
You don't need oil. You don't need fuel. You don't need the petrodollar. You don't need those things. If you have this technology, you essentially have
But you still have to
world-changing
You still have to
technology.
band together as a species for survival.
Well-
None of us are going to survive our own, even if given this technology. Like if you gave me whatever alien tech, right, and said,
But
"Here
what,
you go, bub."
the U.S. is just going to have it?
No. I see what you're saying there.
Yeah.
So that's a
It's
sticky.
given to the world. The technology is given to the world.
So that's kind of a sticky point. Jeez,
You're not fighting over wars. Hello, Stoner's dad. Much love. That's a super sticker, bub. We got
Thank
hippos
you.
all around tonight.
all of you guys and gals. Thank you, Jeezum.
Victory for the bees.
I'm blown away. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
It really does help the operations. It helps
It does.
us, keep snacks in the fridge. And
It does.
Ordering pizza, which, after the show, we like to
It does.
Get
It
a
does
little-
a lot. It helps
little
us on our
grub for
little
the
weekend
crew.
trips, our excursions when we go to Serpent Mound or
yeah.
Cryptid Con or whatever it is. We're going to be using that for it. So we appreciate each and every one of you for throwing something in there. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. But to the technology being disseminated, if there's alien tech, how do you disseminate that globally? It's a great question.
I'm saying there'll probably be wars and stuff fought over initially, but if it begins to be shared worldwide, we don't have a use to fight over energy anymore. We don't have the use for, a bunch of giant corporations essentially going after oil rights. That's what runs everything. That's what runs the technology,
Right.
the electricity created to make technology.
Do you remember my analogy of what I was saying was going on with UFO, UAP disclosure and how I compared it to the game of spoons?
Yeah, that was great.
Right?
Spoons so fun.
So maybe we, the U.S., had the first spoon, Roswell, whatever wreckage.
Yeah.
We got the first one, whether it was Roswell or earlier. We got the first spoon, and then the next nation got the spoon. But
Brazil's got a spoon.
the nations without a spoon in the game of spoons, what happens to you? You're out of the game.
You're out of the game, right?
So
Or you
what
have
I'm
to-
saying is, if we are in the game of spoons of alien recovered tech and advancement, and we have a spoon in this spoon, you think we're going to go try to talk to the people of Sentinel Island, the most
They're not
remote
gonna have a
tribe ever,
spoon.
and try to bring them along and give them a spoon? We're going to be like, no.
Well, they don't need it, nor do they.
I'm just
want
saying, you're talking about disseminating the information globally. Like, what will
it.
that
I'm
do?
saying like superpowers.
I get that, but even on that level, what level? Like, who all has a spoon already?
Culture's going to change.
It's
to
kind
the
of like
point-
with atomic power, weapons, nuclear power weapons. We don't want certain countries to have that power. We don't know what they'll do with it, even though we're the ones that drop the bomb, but we're not dropping bombs on any board, right? But that's the fear. You could
Initially.
give this power to somebody
think initially that will be the fear.
that doesn't steward it along well enough, where that's the worry, right? Like, I don't know how to do it. It's kind of like the same thing of like me driving in a car. I like to be driving. If I give somebody else the wheel, I don't have control over that, and it's very powerful over me now.
You don't like riding with other people.
In a car, I like to drive. I love to drive.
You don't like driving as a passenger.
I don't. Nope.
You're not
No.
a great passenger.
No, I'm not.
Bub will change lanes literally every 30 seconds. He will get out of a lane, yell at somebody for not doing what he needs them to do in that moment.
Fast enough. I'll tell you what, and this before we end this episode, this is one of my favorite things.
Come on, bro.
This is one of my favorite things.
You need to go. What are you doing? What's this guy doing? I'm like, he's driving, bub. He's going to 80.
Okay. I have 2 stories, and I'm only going to tell one. I'll save the other one for the next one. But this is one of my favorite things to do, and I did it when we were in Serpent Mound. So if anybody was down there and saw me driving around in my little car doing this, I apologize, but it's one of my favorite things. When I see a herd of cattle or horses or whatever animals, if they're out there while I'm driving by, I will have the window down and I will just shout, "Hey, cow!"
Yeah.
And they will like raise their head up and look. My wife dies laughing every time I do it, so I do it every time. So funny. But that's it for me.
Aliens to cows. We're ending this show on. Come on, it's a good one.
Everything's an alien for all intents and purposes.
Well, right. According to
if we get to another planet and
Warden.
if we went from here to another planet and there's species there, we'd be the aliens to them.
Yeah, we are. We're ancient aliens.
So everything's alien.
Yeah. Oh, one point, real quick, we didn't get to in that article. We kind of moved on, but the Gigi were the beings in Sumeria. We actually took their place because the Gigi became kind of too big for their britches.
Oh,
they were the ones doing all the mining initially. They were the young gods. So, Inky, Enlil, all of them had the Gigi mining, prepping the land, and then were we genetically designed to kind of take their spot because we were more easily controlled. But then eventually we became uncontrollable as well.
Well,
Sumerian tablets, man. There's some wild stuff.
Watch Battlefield Earth.
Yeah,
I've seen
100%.
it many times. It's a weird movie, but it makes sense now. Anyhow.
Yep.
Stoner, Disbro, and Master Control.
Yes, thank you,
Making
guys.
sound look pretty, keeping us up and running. There it is.
There they are.
We didn't have to evacuate out the escape hatch slide tunnel. Hang it. Not today. Next time.
All right. Drinks from Ada. All right.
He said Stoner's dad was saying that's what the super chat was for. Is for the bees and for the cryptid boys when they come down for drinks.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We got to have that fridge stocked for those fellas. Hard, cider, or bust with those boys. And a little wiki.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have them back in at some point.
Well, guys, this has been a fun one. You guys are the best. Thank you guys so much for listening. Always be sharing, follow, like, subscribe. Again, another Strange Happenings in the can.
Books.
It doesn't seem to end. I guess we could talk a little bit about the schedule real quick. We're trying to get our schedule dialed in, guys. Some of you may have noticed that this Monday we didn't release an episode on the podcast platform. We're trying to get into a schedule where we release an episode every week with an interview episode on Mondays, and then every other week, Strange Happenings on a Thursday.
Yeah.
But live streaming Strange Happenings every Wednesday. Every other week. So next week we'll be off, and then the following week we'll be back with another episode of Strange Happenings.
Yep.
Brand new links, new stuff to cover. In the world,
we'll try to be as transparent as we can about it. It's just one of those things that we juggle a lot. We're all living life and working and doing this as well at the same time. So we appreciate you guys sticking around with us and always being there. And even though we're not putting out stuff, our stuff's still getting hit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of nice, if
we can
there's
put
an episode
more
you haven't seen.
we can put more into the episodes that we're doing a bunch of recordings coming up. Super excited.
We've got some batch recordings
We're
coming up.
locking in some pretty great episodes, guys. So stay tuned.
Oh, I'm stoked for next week.
Stay tuned.
I'm stoked for next
we're
week.
We're gonna have the coffee rolling. The cold brew is gonna be a mainstay next week. We've got work and a lot of episodes to get through, and it's gonna be wild. So we're gonna do. We're gonna see how that goes.
I'm gonna try to keep myself in control. In reserve because
you got to save your energy.
I'm already just I forgot about all of it because there's just a lot going on. That's what I'm saying. Like it's just mind-boggling how many things are occurring all at once, and we're just spin that plate, spin this plate, spin that plate. It's fun. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
But it is also nice that I kind of forget about things because I'm like, oh man, that is coming up. Like I'm so excited about that.
Yep.
But
Monday we're releasing. We have another premiere on Monday. We're releasing a YouTube premiere at 9 p.m. I believe it's the Jeffrey Wilson Crop Circle episode.
From Serpent Mound
that we recorded
Summer
from Serpent
Solstice.
Mound. So
Right on.
we'll have that ready for you guys.
Cool.
And then
Stoner stuff. I appreciate that.
you were out of control.
I
Keep it
appreciate
up.
that.
Always. We can't have Bub in control. It would not be fun. The show would be super boring.
It's much more fun when I let the security guard
get a little wiki.
Yeah, take the night
Security card takes it at ease.
off. Down, soldier.
All right, guys. Thank you again. We are out. Appreciate the heck out of all of you.
Thank you
Peace.
so much.
Later, guys. Be good.